Hey everybody, this is Kane with Content Harmony, and today we're going to be walking through how to use the data on the Competitors tab to improve the quality of the content briefs you're producing. So we're looking at a keyword report here for protein benefits in our nutrition website project, and we've got a few things when we get to the Competitors tab. One is we have a list of page 1 competitors that we spotted on the desktop search results, so should be fairly similar to what you see on the actual search results here. And then we've got a set of top level metrics that we highlight for you here, as well as a flyout section that goes a little bit deeper on each competitor. I'm going to start off here working my way right to left, because the left scores here are what feed up into our difficulty metrics, and I want to talk about those for a second as well. So first things first, if there's any particular competitors that you want to highlight for writers or for clients to take a look at, then by all means highlight those and we'll push them over to the brief, and then you can tell the writer or client whether or not they need to use those as a reference to look at, or rather if they actually should be linking to them if they're not really a true competitor. So that's one thing you can do as far as pushing this content over into your brief. As you're actually looking at the breakdown of metrics for each competitor, though, we've got 3 sets. We've got a content score, we've got our link metrics, we've got our word count readability metrics, and then our traffic metrics. So we kind of give you an overview of everything that's going on with that competitor's URL. Our estimated traffic here, this is data that comes from Data for SEO, which is a comparable data source to something like SEMrush or a database like Ahrefs or Moz, although not currently click-through rate adjusted. But the organic visibility for this page is basically how many total keywords do we see this page ranking for, what's the estimated traffic, and then what's the top keyword that it's ranking for. So we ran the report for protein benefits, but this page happens to rank better for why protein is important. And I said mistakenly this wasn't click-through rate adjusted data. It is click-through rate adjusted. It's just not. It's based on normal AdWords volume. It's not based on a different modeled version that Ahrefs and Moz might use for their traffic estimates. So that gives you an idea for just how much this page is ranking for and estimated traffic that it gets. Now our readability metrics are pretty straightforward. What's the word count that we saw for the article? And we do our best to remove the article header and sidebar and footer, but just focus on the body of text on the page. But sometimes we're a little bit off. So if you see something quirky, it's always fine to go double check. Sometimes our scrapers got blocked from a site, so it could be that as well. And then the reading grade level, the Flesch Kincaid reading level that we spotted for the text on that page. But that's pretty easy to just kind of scan and get a feel for what the average readability is for the URLs that are ranking. Now, our content and link metrics here, I want to do a deeper dive on. We use 3 different difficulty metrics here at Content Harmony, and we'll probably do a deeper dive on those in another video, but link difficulty is comparable to what you'd see from something like Ahrefs keyword difficulty, where it's entirely a link-based metric. Now, we pull our link data from Moz's database, and so linking domains is the number of referring domains spotted by Moz, and domain authority is the actual Moz domain authority that we spotted for that domain. And these feed up into the link difficulty metrics because they get averaged. So domain difficulty is the average domain authority across page 1 search results. Gives us a good threshold or a good idea of the size of sites that are ranking. Something in the 40s to 60s is fairly low. Something in the 80s to 100s is pretty high. Those are pretty big sites that are ranking, big domains. Now, link difficulty is also a 0 to 100 scale, but this is not necessarily 1 to 1. So in this case, the average number of referring domains for something ranking on this SERP is 147. So we scored that as 59 out of 100 on difficulty, which is reasonably difficult. There's certainly some lowly linked content here that seems to be ranking okay, but a lot of the results have a significant number of links, 391, 363, 1700. That Harvard one's probably skewing the link difficulty a little bit. And then the last metric here is our content score. Now, content score is a little bit different than the type of score you might expect from a content grader, where we're grading the content against the full topic model that we generate. A content score is meant to be basically an assessment of how hard other people are trying to rank for this particular keyword. And so, reasons to eat more protein, it's not as optimized as something that's clearly protein benefits, right? So what we do is literally an exact match and a partial match check for these words on the URL, the title tag, the H1, and the body content of these competitors. And we say, does the URL include the word protein? Check. Does it include the word benefits? Check. And if it includes all of the words in your query, then we'll give it an extra bonus for being an exact match result. We go through and do that on all of these competitors, calculate a content score. We include a couple other factors like the average word count and whether or not they're doing a good job with multimedia usage like images and videos. Score up that for each competitor, and then the average content score is what becomes the content difficulty. And so the lower the content difficulty, the less specific these pages are and the less hard they're trying to rank. The higher the difficulty, the more likely it is that you'll need to put forth a page that's really well optimized for keyword and topic usage. And so that's how to use that metric. Now, as you actually do a deep dive into each competitor, we include some other interesting things like top 1 grams on the page, any external links that we spotted on the page that go to a different domain or subdomain at least. IBM keywords, the top 12 that were extracted from the page, and the top 12 IBM entities that were extracted from the page. This stuff can be handy for a strategist, but it's really noisy for most clients and writers that might be looking at briefs. And so we don't usually try and put this information in front of a writer, for example. It's there for a strategist if they really want to diagnose, like, hey, why is this site ranking? It seems kind of quirky that they're there. But it's not the type of thing that we put into the brief where a writer would, be overwhelmed by too much information by highlighting those page level types of details. So that's a bit of a tour of the competitors tab. When you actually get over into your brief, you'll see anything you've highlighted under additional resources that will help the writer. And then we usually advise people to just be specific on what you want a writer or a client to do with these references. So in this case, I've said, please cite any of the following resources below if it's particularly useful for our readers, or consider including these in the final resources section. But otherwise, these are just examples for reference. And so that's a pretty good blanket statement. You can actually get more specific and say, hey, I want you to go to Everyday Health and look how they formatted their content, or I want you to go to Everyday Health and look at where they're getting their links from, because we're going to need to do something on our content promotion that's similar. Whatever it might be, you can be more specific about those recommendations. And then if there's something here you don't need anymore, feel free to unhighlight it, and we'll go ahead and get rid of that from the brief. So that's it. That's your tour of the competitors tab. If you have any questions, I am, of course, on the other end here of Intercom and happy to answer questions about some of the data we spotted or any other questions that you might have. Thanks for your time.